As you may know, I write science fiction. And I write science fiction for the same reason I am interested in the history of the Middle Ages, our brain, and what leads to shifts in the perception of reality. Along the way, I came up with a strategy that might well help us to get sane and in charge of our brains and minds through the year 2024, that shapes up to become a crazy and dangerous ride on a razor's edge. Let me explain by introducing you to William. William, it was the most common name in the Middle Ages, is a peasant who lives his life in the rhythm of Nietzsche and by the calendar of the Catholic Church. We meet him on one of the mornings of the many holidays. And yet he had gotten up bright and early because he plans to go on a pilgrimage. His chosen destination is a cathedral housing the relics of a local saint. He wants to ask the saint to put in a good word with God on his behalf. This is as real to William as it is for us to call our member of parliament. William walks for hours. First, he endures pouring rain that turns roads into muddy slides. Then the sun tests his resolve, or so he interprets the weather, because for him, the entire physical world is a fraction of God's plan. Finally, he arrives. The cathedral is easily the largest building he has ever laid eyes on, and far more elaborate than anything he could have imagined. From his perspective, the spires truly tickle the clouds and connect the world he lives in with the spiritual world beyond. The space he steps into is thus not of this world and not of the next either. It's a space where miracles happen. And he's lucky enough to be present as one unfolds. A reward for his perseverance. A nobleman is present, and for his enjoyment the monks brought out a manuscript. The book is a true wonder. In the candlelight, the bright colors of the illuminations pop off the pages, and the gold sparkles as if a fire is burning inside the book. William doesn't understand Latin, but he catches some snippets of the monks' and noblemen's conversation. Certainly, the words he was meant to pick up. Overwhelmed, he falls to his knees, gets lost in the world of a drawing and reflects on what God has offered him, trying to find the answer to the question he'd come to ask of God in the flowers and the swirls. He continues his contemplation on his way home, and when he talks about the miracle the local saint has worked to his neighbors. William wasn't the exception, but the rule: the average medieval person worked about 154 days, a year, while the church demanded their participation and observance on the rest. She celebrated the holidays in their communities, but she certainly loved their pilgrimages as well. And at every turn they were asked to reflect on God's plan with text and art, giving them focus for their meditations. And it changed their brains in such a way that their perception of reality changed. People in medieval times truly believed that all there was to the world has already been created, and all that needed to be known about the world had already been revealed by God. Humans could split what was differently between them, but there would never be more to share. And any question worth asking had already been answered in Scripture. If there was no answer in the Scripture, the question was simply not worth asking. Expressed in this philosophy is an emphasis on the external. As part of a big plan, the role already described by God, a person's internal experiences and subjective feelings were of no import. It is said that the medieval period ended on 26 February 1336, when Francesco Petrarch, a scholar, poet, and humanist, trekked up more than two. It's a dangerous climb, and Petrarch engaged in the endeavor solely for the purpose of looking at the scenery and considering the world that stretched below him. In short, he did it because he wanted to. Peak Renaissance. Why? Because what Petrarch did speaks of a belief that individuals have the capacity to learn and discover knowledge through the power of observation and reasoning and of a belief that we humans have a capacity for creativity, innovation, and progress, that we are in charge of our lives. This new mindset was a basis for the scientific revolution, capitalism, all ideologies, those that tried to replace religion and those that tried to build on them, and democracy. I hope you realize how polar opposite these two realities of William and Petrarch are, and yet these are both realities that a human brain had created as the best hypothesis of what is going on the basis of data the brain was fed. What happened was that people's reflections and ruminations had created new circuits that connected different parts of the brain, and what appears was a sense of the self and a trust in the human capabilities. What took William to Petrarch was a very low-tech version, manuscripts, later books, literacy, of what is happening to our brains right now, with 24/7 news cycles that make us truly global citizens, social media, artificial intelligence, and mis- and disinformation galore. Boundaries of what it means to be alive and oneself are moved in a rapid speed. Like William, we are overwhelmed and even paralyzed at times, especially when it comes to political discourse in which groups target our minds explicitly to conquer them, like earlier generations waged war on to conquer territory. Logging off seems like a way to cope until the world finds us and we get right up the faster for our attempts to opt out. The way to go seems to be to help our brain in its reconstruction work, to guide it. And why not borrow the tactics that worked for William? Illuminations and short ruminations on concepts we are constantly confronted with, but never really think about. Throughout 2024, I give you prompts, but you'll have to do the work. For 30 seconds, or more if you like, all you do is concentrate on the prompt, open your mind, and let your thoughts and feelings flow. A simple meditation, but it has brought us humans already so far. Just give it a try and actively shape your reality so that 2024 is your year.